Previously on Tomodachi Life. A new island was created by the almighty Lookalike. His goal, to fill this island with unique and wonderful me's and watch as their lives unfolded and entangled with one another's. He began by selecting 9 me's to begin living on the island. Joey Lanzer, the adventurer. Rebecca McNerd, the brainiac. Charles Snoodworth, the lone wolf. Brad Jenkins, the entertainer. Kathy Nummy, the dreamer. Jasper Ito, the thinker. Anna Kicklane, the go-getter. Alan Wrench, the charmer. And Cassandra Momonu, the trendsetter. These were the 9 me's that the Lookalike had chosen to begin his dream of creating a truly wondrous island, and to provide good entertainment. This is Tomodachi Life. Things keep on chugging on Boxland Island. Life continues to evolve on Boxland Island, for both its residents and visitors. The residents evolved to include 2 new members, Greg Smith and Evelyn Immort, both having settled into their new lives on the island quite well. Greg, being an amateur fashion model, was quickly drawn to island tourism manager Cassandra's custom fashion looks. The 2 of them began hanging out with one another, discussing fashion periods, color theories, the do's and don'ts of fashions, and so much more. Eventually the 2 of them began collaborating on designs and how to showcase them too. Cassie would design the looks and Greg would put on fashion shows to show them off. Cassie found Greg's help incredibly useful and went to Joey to request that she could make Greg her full-time assistant.
I want to make Greg my assistant.
Okay, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yay.
Hey, do you want to go? No, okay then.
Joey agreed to Cassie's request and she went and offered Greg the position,
Greg, do you want a job?
which he happily accepted, and became assistant tourism manager. Greg began his duties by deciding he would help improve the island looks, by helping the island residents look their very best, both themselves and their apartments. Which probably would not have been a problem if he had told anyone that he was going to do this. As it was, Greg redecorated and redid everyone's rooms while they were out doing errands,
Oh hi Anna,
working, or having fun.
Slow ass.
So when everyone came home after a day of whatever, they were shocked to find their apartments completely different than when they left. Needless to say, this did not go over well. Joey was greeted by a golden palace-like apartment. Every surface was covered in a faux golden shine, that would reflect the light in such a harsh way that your eyes would begin to water in self-defense the moment you walked in. Indeed, the sheer shimmer and tackiness of all the gold caused Joey to go blind and stumble through the hallway, eventually
Oh no,
falling down
gosh dang
several
it.
flights of
That
stairs.
stinks.
Greg's reason for the apartment was,
Alida should life somewhere, Alida should life.
Becca was greeted by a room where everything was a shade of purple. Just purple. Greg said it was because
Rebecca extrudes a sense of royal elegance that he had not seen before.
for Becca the only thing that was being extruded was a singular emotion. Anger. Anger that her carefully curated book collection was missing. For Charles's room, Greg had gone in the opposite direction. Greg had replaced all the furnishings with what he referred to as humble surroundings because
At how most people think Charles is all about wealth and money, I don't. To him there will be no defense.
the difference for Charles was so great, Kathy
There.
had to rub a wad of money on
Pensioners are not
Charles's
real
forehead,
and cannot hurt
while
you.
telling him that pensioners
Just
were
calm
not
down.
real and couldn't hurt him for
That's it.
several hours before he
Just
could
think
talk
of
again.
loopholes and tax evasions.
Anna's room was made to be fluffy. No further comment except that Greg stated,
I believe that underneath the hateful exterior is a soft fluffy side.
that soft fluffy side was apparently also an arsonist.
Congratulations to Greg for the new positions. In other news today, a fire broke out in the apartments late this afternoon. There are no cell.
Alan's room was decorated in a nouveau riche aesthetic. The garishness of the colors, the tackiness of the decor, and the price tags associated with them, all of which made Alan's skin tingle and crawl in revulsion and disgust. Alan was later heard saying,
My sense of taste may never fully recover. Also, did Greg keep the receipts?
For Brad, Greg actually took some time and thought into his design. He decided to showcase Brad's love of music into his design, which could have been really nice and thoughtful, had he bothered to learn what kind of music Brad makes or even likes. As he didn't know or didn't learn, he chose disco. Brad later said,
There's nothing wrong with disco. There are some really good songs that came out of it, but disco.
Even Evelyn, who had only just moved in herself, didn't escape Greg's redecorating fervor. Her room had been remodeled into a mid-century modern apartment.
So many earth tones.
Evelyn cried.
What was wrong with my last apartment? I liked how it looked. It reminded me of my childhood.
Strangely, not everyone complained about Greg's rampant redesigning. Kathy, because of her good-natured self, couldn't bring herself to say something negative to Greg. Not straightforwardly anyways. Greg had designed her room in a colorful arrangement of colors, ones that made her eyes water painfully and that she swore she could hear.
Red,
Yellow,
yellow,
blue, green, purple,
purple,
pink.
Pink.
Well, actually, it's more of a lightish red.
But since she couldn't straight out tell Greg how she felt, she instead told Greg that he clearly put in a lot of effort and sure did try his hardest, but never actually said whether or not she liked it.
Oh wow, you sure put in a lot of hard work and really tried.
Yes, obviously, but what do you think of it, darling?
I mean, gosh whiz, you sure did a thing, that's for sure.
Now give me your honest thoughts.
When Greg kept asking for her opinion, she would cough politely in an attempt to tell him she didn't like it.
Cough cough.
Yes,
Cough 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 cough. Cough cough
do you
cough
need some
cough.
sparkling water?
It didn't work. Greg was completely oblivious to what Kathy was trying to do and thought she had an actual cough. This led to Kathy politely coughing so much, that it led to a real medical emergency.
Clear.
The other resident that didn't complain was Ito. In fact, no one saw Ito after Greg had finished his remodeling, and fearing what could have happened to him, a few of the residents rushed towards his apartment. They reached the apartment to discover the once modern Asian-style dwellings was now an empty, hollow void of nothingness with Ito sitting in the middle. Ito didn't initially realize they were there until Anna bonked him on the head. He jumped up and greeted them and asked why they were there. Joey told him that they hadn't seen him since the remodeling and that they were worried that he had a bad reaction to it. When told this, he just looked puzzled. The others stared at him in disbelief, and Joey gestured at the room around him. Ito looked around and then suddenly jumped in shock.
What happened to my apartment?
Apparently, he hadn't noticed. As soon as everyone recovered from the initial shock, they all rushed to Cassandra's office to complain to her since she was Greg's superior. Since Greg never told her what he was going to do, Cassie was completely unaware of what they were complaining about, and even told them that her apartment hadn't been touched. Everyone wanted to know why and how Cassie escaped, but before she could answer, Greg walked up to the crowd.
What is going on?
Greg, did you redecorate everyone's apartments?
Why yes. You see darling, I felt said everyone was hiding.
Why would you do something like that without telling me or anyone?
I figured it did not have to, since it is my job to make the island
Your job
look.
is to help me with mine. If you had asked beforehand, we could have come up with something fabulous.
Exactly. You just can't go over your superior's head whenever you want to do something. By the way, Cassie, Alan has been telling me that you've been approving certain things that aren't
Greg,
in your...
from now on if you want to do anything it has to go through me first. Got it?
Sei. As much as it would hamper my creativity, yes.
Good. Now let me see what you've done.
I've got a question. Why didn't you do anything to Cassie's place?
What do you mean?
You redid everyone else's room, but not Cassie. Why?
I do not know what you're talking about.
Greg. We all know what you
I just
did.
finished restyling your room.
What?
Yes darling. I know that you will be to laugh what I've done. I think it speaks of your inner self.
Get the f*** out of my way.
Indeed. Greg had restyled Cassie's apartment in a country motif. What was once a lavish, elegant apartment, was now a modest, quaint, homey one. Gone were the expensive displays of art and wealth, and in their place were good sturdy furniture that don't need all that fancy smoncy stuff. Cassie stood in the apartment, stunned and at a complete loss for words, simply staring in silent horror at her surroundings. Greg then decided it was a good idea to walk up behind her.
Do not you laugh it, darling. I know you like to show off, but I think this speaks to your true inner self. Sit deep down you are a simple, modest, down-to-earth girl. How right am I?
Leave. Now.
Ip.
Greg quickly obeyed Cassie and fled out the room. Once she had calmed down enough, with the help of Evelyn and Kathy, she called Greg to her office.
Greg, you're fired.
But why, darling?
You walked where no mortal should tread. You desecrated that which gods cannot touch. You in your hubris tried to...
Darling, you simply redecorated your apartment.
Exactly. What made you think I would like that folksy crap? You threw out all my cool stuff.
No, we did not. I put it in the storage unit.
With everyone else's. I don't want their stuff touching mine.
I hate to admit that you did feel guilty subjecting your belongings to the punishment. So am I still fired.
Yes. Get out.
What if we help restore everyone's apartments to their all planned looks?
I'll think about it.
And so Greg went to work undoing all the damage he caused to the other islanders. Everyone's apartments were restored to their original states, and after he was done, Greg was able to keep his job, but with the strict instructions that he could not do anything without direct supervision. After everything was finally over, things returned to normal on Boxland Island, and the residents went back to their lives, ready for a new day. And now, Tomodachi Life.